Let's now shift our attention to what is playing out in the United States, where the Democrats are laying out their case against President Trump as the Senate's impeachment trial has now entered into its third day. The House impeachment managers are currently presenting their arguments on the first charge, that is abuse of power. Now, Trump is charged with obstruction of Congress. The U.S. president has denied both of these charges, and the managers have said that Trump's dealings with Ukraine was in fact a threat to U.S. national security. Listen in.
Indeed, as we will discuss later, both investigations and the president's broader scheme to secure Ukraine's interference was a threat. It was a threat. It was a threat to our national security. The only person who stood to benefit from the abuse of office and solicitation of these investigations was Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States. A violation of public trust, a failure to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. But when it came down to choosing between the national interests of the country and his own personal interests, his re-election, President Trump chose himself.
Meanwhile, they also raised questions on the role of Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Listen in.
Here's what matters. President Trump directed U.S. officials to work with his personal agent, who was pursuing investigations not at all related to foreign policy. U.S. officials, including the president's own national security advisor, knew there was no getting around Rudy Giuliani when it came to Ukraine.
The arguments apart, there were moments of light humor on the Senate floor. Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries jokingly said that when he heard something outrageous happening in Washington, he knew that Trump had actually returned from Davos. Listen in.
Earlier this morning, I was on my way to the office and I ran into a fellow New Yorker who just happens to work here in Washington, D.C. And he said to me, "Congressman, have you heard the latest outrage?" And I wasn't really sure what he was talking about, so to be honest, I thought to myself, well, the president is now back in town. What has Donald Trump done now? And so I said to him, "What outrage are you talking about?" And he paused for a moment, and then he said to me, "Someone voted against Derek Jeter on his Hall of Fame ballot."
Meanwhile, the Republicans have accused the Democrats of repetition, saying that their arguments had pretty much no weight whatsoever. Listen in.
It does seem that after about an hour and a half, they start repeating themselves, as if you could impeach by just kind of repeating the same thing, by repetition. We are ready for the president's team to put their defense on. The president didn't have a chance to do that in the House. We have heard plenty from the House now.
Meanwhile, President Trump left for Florida without offering any comment on the trial that he's facing. Trump was impeached by the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives last month. The U.S. president is accused of withholding military aid to Ukraine on the condition that Ukraine should probe his 2020 rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden for their business dealings in Ukraine. Remember, Hunter Biden had served on the board of a Ukrainian energy firm while he was U.S. Vice President. Democrats have said that they will resist attempts to have the Bidens testify in the trial. Trump's defense team is expected to begin its arguments on Sunday.